Sopranos, Dave Meltzer here, Wrestling Observer Radio, December 2nd, 2024, figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. We got lots of stuff to talk about here today, lots of news to get into, and we're going to start with, let's start with all of the injury updates and such first, as we had a lot to talk about last night, and we got some updates today, including Juice Robinson, potential broken foot.
He had x-rays and, he had not had the results back as of yesterday, but he was fearing a broken foot. So, we'll find out Wednesday, I guess. He's not listed on the show Wednesday, but he probably would have been wrestling on Collision on Thursday, but I would think that if he's out, they would have to make an announcement. And, there's a lot of different ways they can go about it. They could just have him forfeit the rest of his matches and then readjust everything, for the people who he was supposed to beat, which probably was only one or two matches that he was going to win. So they kind of have to readjust that to get to the finish, whatever the finish is that they wanted to get with the top two, which is the key is, first and second is really only what matters. They could do that. They could put somebody in as a replacement. Those are basically your choices, put somebody in as a replacement. I think that what they probably should do is just have a guy that they replace him with who, says that he'll overcome that first loss and go in there. Or, if they want, have several people, do like maybe a multiple person match or a singles match on TV on, the Thursday taping and, have the winner of that match. That way you earn your way in, get in and get that last spot. So whatever it is, they're going to have to adjust if he can't go, which, if he has a broken foot, it would not be a good idea for him to try.
Also got Maria Kanellis, who had a mass on her adrenal gland. She had a bunch of scans done on that, and they determined that it was a rare tumor, a pheochromocytoma, but not cancerous.
That was
very good news.
Yeah.
And she said she was incredibly grateful and looking forward to the future. So
good news.
Apparently 3 to 8 people get it out of 1 million. Incredibly rare. So, good news there.
Yeah.
Got no update on Bronson Reed. He also was supposed to get a bunch of x-rays and scans today. Didn't hear an update today, but probable broken foot. So there's that.
I heard ankle.
Ankle, yeah. And then one or both?
One.
Okay, I heard one as well. But apparently there's a video that there's a video that has a certain angle where it looks like he destroys both of his ankles.
Wow.
But apparently it was only one that was.
Yeah, he had mentioned which one. I don't remember. I think it was the left, but I could be wrong. I just remember he had mentioned that he had x-rays on. I think that he had a photo put on where he had like a walking boot on. So I guess if you looked at the photo, you could tell which side it was. But, yeah.
And Kevin Nash apparently has torn a biceps.
Among other things. He has many, many things going on. He basically said he's getting it all taken care of. And he's going to...
Minimally invasive shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
And a torn biceps.
Mm-hmm.
Something that MRIs he had last month apparently missed. He said he was working out and he felt his biceps cramping, and he said, "Oh man."
He was on he was doing the curling machine, so that was like another thing. So he's got shoulder, low back, and biceps all going on, and he's basically going to fix them. He said he's going to fix them, and not happy, and I think he's going to have to change the way. He said he basically told me he's going to have to change the way that he trains. He's going to focus very much on rotator cuff rehab and lifting a lot lighter and things like that. He's 65, and you have to, it's just one of those things that happens. You can't be lifting that way, and he's got a lot of wear and tear on his body anyway from all the years of pro wrestling, and before that, all the years of basketball. So down, unfortunately.
Well, best wishes him on a quick recovery as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's all of the injuries we have to talk about.
What about Sheamus? I actually did not. I was
They
unable.
claim that he cracked his rib.
Yeah, I asked around and nobody knew if it was storyline or legit. So I don't have a good answer on that one, other than it was mentioned on the show that he cracked a rib. So we'll see.
I can't believe Braun didn't crack a rib when he ran into that corner of that announce table.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
And now Rhea has run eyeball first into the corner. So that's a new dangerous thing in WWE is the corner of the announce table.
Yeah.
Don't go near that thing.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the most dangerous part of the table.
It is, but it looks like that's like the new thing that they want to do. That everyone's,
I think the Braun Breaker one was an accident, but now they've turned it into something.
Yeah.
I don't think he was supposed to skewer himself on the.
Well, he's okay.
He is. I don't know how.
I mean, he's not taped up. He's okay. I mean, her thing was a 100% angle. She's wrestling next Monday.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. The second Saturday night's main event.
Yeah, it'd be January 25th. So that date's been out there for a while, but WWE did confirm it to me. So yeah, that's the date. Is the Saturday before the Royal Rumble. So they're going to be doing Saturday night's main events 8 to 10 on NBC, and it's going to be 4 times a year, which was from the original release. And I guess the idea is one every quarter. So it'll be one during at some point during a 3-month period. So that's the date NBC wanted, and people are going like, why would you do it right before have to promote that and the Royal Rumble at the same time? And it's like, the deal is that when they get the date from NBC, that is the date they run. They do not run NBC. NBC is the one who makes the choice. They're the higher power in this one.
Well, we do have a card so far for the December 14th Saturday night's main event. It'll start at 8 p.m. Eastern on NBC. Not going the old school 11:30 p.m.
No, that would die in this day and age. Wrestling in that time slot would just die, and they know it. So 8 to 10, I think they're going to do really well.
Well,
especially on a Saturday night when I don't know what. Let's see, Saturday night, December 14th. I don't know what college sports there would be that night, because that would be the toughest competition if they had something big. I mean, the regular season would be over, but there's like a billion bowl games. Although by December 14th, they're not. If there is something, it's not that big. The biggest bowl games obviously come much later. So they could win the night.
All right, well, we've got 3 title matches announced. The Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens WWE title match. Gunther and Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight title. And Liv Morgan and Io Sky for the Women's World title. So 3 matches.
Yeah, they'll probably a 2-hour show.
I think the finals of the women's
finals of the women's U.S. tournament title tournament is also on the show. That might be the whole card. I don't think you need 5. I mean, because they got to do skits and things like that. They're not going to just do straight wrestling.
All right, before we get to Raw, we got some other news here, including the AEW number from the night before Thanksgiving, which it's interesting because I was sure this show was going to die. But then, as it turns out, and this is actually, and I asked people about this, last year's night before Thanksgiving actually did really well, to the point where they were like shocked at how good it did. And so now people are doing like year-over-year comparisons about how horrible
it was brutal.
AEW is doing. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, last year was an aberration.
Well, but this is still much lower than even the other years. But in other years, they have had lower than what they were doing at the time. Now, the thing here is, do you remember when they did that June 19th? I think it was really bad number.
Yes.
Okay. So, and I mean, the first thing I did was like, okay, what did everybody else do that night? And I mean, a lot of people wanted to blame it on Juneteenth and everything like that. And when I said it's probably not that, it was like, you're clueless, you're racist, you're everything, this and the blah, blah, blah. The problem is that I checked all the shows, and half the shows that week were up and half were down. Now, TNT, or TBS, I should say, was way down. because they did other programming other than Big Bang Theory, and AEW got a bad lead in, and yeah, that station was way down, but a lot of stations were way up. So it's not the night. Now, it absolutely probably was that the station was way down. Now, this
it was, if I recall correctly, the lead-in did
at 0.04,
like a just minuscule number.
Yeah, 0.04.
And so normally they have a gigantic lead-in, which
it's
then kind of carries throughout the rest of the show.
It's not that gigantic.
Well, it's bigger than a 0.04.
Yeah, it's true. It's usually 4 times that.
Yeah, so they had virtually nobody tuning in at the beginning of the show.
Right.
And it did grow from there, but it was enough to hurt the show greatly.
Yeah. No, the lack of lead-in absolutely hurt. Yeah, and the fact that the station was died the whole night. Not just wrestling. All the night. That hurt. But the night itself was not a bad night for cable. So anyway, on this one when I saw it, it's like, okay, how was cable? And the thing here is that AEW's basically been running third place behind Fox News and obviously ESPN with the NBA every week as far as in the time slot goes. Okay, they were second place. They beat both of the Fox News shows. There was an ESPN 2 college basketball game, I think, that did beat them. That did it, but ESPN did good numbers all day. But when I looked at like the other shows, the other shows were like way down. The viewership was way down. It is the night, and AEW was actually down well below. Like Big Bang Theory was down way more than AEW by percentage. The Fox shows were like way down, and those are monsters of late. I've got it actually right here. AEW is down 16% in viewers and 23% in 18 to 49 from last week. Big Bang Theory was down 22% in viewers and 35% in 18 to 49. So that was the lead-in, which did an 0.11, which is one of the lowest lead-ins that AEW has ever had. Now, Jesse Waters, which is like the big competition. Now, the NBA actually was up, but it was also a stronger game. But Jesse Waters was down 30% in viewers and 44% in 18 to 49. And Hannity was down 25% in viewers and 37% in 18 to 49. So the fact is it was a bad night. And I mean, anyone, people can call that an excuse. And the fact is that it was the lowest 18 to 49 number that they've done. But other shows were down a lot more. The usual competition shows that they have, they were all below an 0.11. So it was a bad night for viewership. That said, obviously, they did lose numbers as the show went on. It was way lower than they should have done, one would think. The West Coast going live hurt a lot, obviously. I think the thing about the West Coast live, it's not just that they went early, but nobody knew it. That was like the thing. Because it's like, what was it, Monday night when they first Monday was the day when they first made the announcement. They never announced it on their own TV, probably because they didn't know. One of the things, and this has to do with all of the stuff with AEW, and there's a lot of things to point at, but one of the things is that this idea, and granted I know WWE gets away with it, but they're hot, they can get away with it. AEW, this idea of we have to announce we announce all this stuff on Twitter so everybody will know. I don't know how many times this has to bite them in the ass before someone will pick up and just like, we've got to not only announce these matches on TV, but freaking hype them on TV. Just throwing out a match, even with good people, if you don't have a good amount of hype to it, in this day and age, people aren't going to care. They've seen every matchup. They've seen great matches. You go in there and, this is going to be a great match. That worked in AEW for years. Just a match, oh my God, it's a great match, let's go watch. Absolutely worked. It doesn't now, okay? They have to understand that, and they have to hype the matches better. If they do not hype the matches, the people aren't going to care about the matches. Whether, in this tournament, it's like, man, they got to do interviews, they got to do promos, they've got to beat you over the head with the hype, because what sells wrestling has never been the action. It has always been the hype. and AEW is counting on people hyping it in their own brains. And for a while it worked. It doesn't now. So they have to get back into the hype business, and that doesn't mean like lots of skits and things like that. That means hyping the matches, telling you why, the talent telling you why it's important, the announcers telling you why it's important, things like that. Not, hey, it's Tuesday afternoon, and all of a sudden we're going to announce Bryan Danielson against Okada, and think that that's going to draw a number cold with no story being told ahead of time. It's not. And in this tournament, it's like, they not only have to announce these tournament matches ahead of time, and they're doing some of that, but they got to promo them and things like that, and they're doing better. And next week's number will probably be way up, so everyone doing the gloom and doom and oh my god, it's horrible, it's probably going to be a lot better next week, just like everybody else's numbers. I don't think that Fox News is like doing a panic attack. I don't think that WBD is doing a panic attack. I don't think MTV is doing a panic attack because of the numbers last night. And the people who do, you kind of don't get it. But this is not to say, like I said, this is not to say that AEW doesn't have problems. They absolutely do have problems. They got to do a better job of hyping. There's a lot of other things that they need to do as well. But that's basically the lesson. It's like, yeah, you announced the matches, and they announced a whole bunch of stuff for this week too. They've announced a whole card. Basically a whole card. It's out there, but I mean, how much of it has been hyped and how much is just kind of there? I saw today they added Anna Jay and Penelope Ford, right?
Yeah, Anna Jay and Penelope Ford has been added.
Yeah, so it's Anna Jay's quest to get to the TBS title. Makes sense storyline wise where they're going. However, it's not like that they've done promos for each other. When Anna Jay was doing promos this week, she didn't mention Penelope Ford. Penelope Ford didn't do anything to mention her. It's just one of those things. And yeah, I mean, you can't hype every single match on TV ahead of time. And that's one that you don't necessarily have to. But it's the basic thing. Is the only one that I remember really hyped last week was, the Claudio and the Battle Royal. They were hyped. Claudio and Brody King. So, that's, there's a lot there. It is, I mean, they were way, way down from last year. And, but yeah, I mean, last year was a great number. This year, whatever, it was, it's still, look, even with everything that I said, the reality is that it was the lowest 18 to 49 number that the show has ever done on a Wednesday. Even throwing in that it's the time slot change in the West Coast, which should be about 7% difference, as far as hurting it, and maybe more. Actually, maybe more because before it was like 7%, but they would tell you ahead of time. This one people didn't know, so that actually makes it worse. So in that sense, I think WBD has to be aware that, hey, look, if we didn't get the word out ahead of time, that's what's going to happen. So that was basically the gist of the rating. I've seen a lot of people way overreact to it, like they did, other times. But you can't just say, hey, this doesn't matter for all the reasons I said. There's more to it than that. They've got to change certain things that they're doing. And just going in the same direction, doing the same things that they're doing, TV is going to decline anyway. That can't be avoided pretty much unless, they get a babyface super hot, which is another issue. But, still, they do have to have it come to Jesus moment and kind of go like, there are things we got to change and change greatly. And I think that the more that they try to be WWE, the more that they fail because they are not as good at doing WWE as WWE is at doing WWE. They got to find what they're good at doing. I guess, and do a product that way. Because that's what worked before. Even though, you can't go back to the past because it won't work, but you don't need to go and, okay, this is what WWE is doing. We're gonna copy. That is a recipe. Nobody, TNA, all these companies that try to copy WWE, it never works. You've got to establish your own complete different identity, and AEW was doing better, much better, when they had their own identity. They were not WWE Light. They were not copying WWE. They were not using as many ex-WWE guys on the show because those guys have had more television exposure. That was the fallacy that TNA went through for most of its existence on Spike was, hey, look at all these guys. They're famous guys. They're way more famous than the young guys. The problem is that old famous guys all over the show, that's not the answer. The answer is young guys on the way up, making, and a lot of what people consider young guys are guys that have had 5 straight years of TV, and that's not young and that's not new, no matter what their chronological ages are. And, especially like just as an example of the Private Party. I mean, one of the things there, it's like you have this team, you do nothing with them, they're established at a certain level. Before they beat the Young Bucks, they were just getting ransacked by the BCC week in and week out. Darby Allin's getting ransacked, all these guys. Then you expect, after you've done this to these guys, then you expect, hey, we're going to put a belt on them, or we're going to put them in the main event, and it's going to draw, and it's not. You've got to, you can't just snap your fingers. I mean, you've got to build them. They've got to get, not whether it's wins, but just important segments, just being important segments, or something. You can't just, hey, we're going to put belts on you in a great match. It's like it's not gonna work that way. They can't snap their fingers and make these guys that have been there for 5 years on the bottom or low bottom, and then go, hey, it's your turn. You've been here 5 years. We're going to give you a push now. That ain't going to be the answer either. It's got to be, people who are, either new young guys that haven't been there out there for 5 years. I know they don't have a developmental system. That's where it's going to bite them in the ass, or just get some baby faces and just say these are our top baby faces, and book them like top baby faces, not book them like top baby faces that always get beat up week in and week out and week in and week out. People have no faith in them in beating the top stars, and then this is what you got.
All right, Mystico and Hechicero.
Yeah, they wrestled Friday night at Friday Night Arena, Mexico. They had another real big crowd. I don't know the number, but it was certainly well over 12,000. And these guys this was a great match because it was so different from the normal Arena Mexico, main event style. Mystico, he did some flying. They were 27 and a half minutes. Mystico was the end of De Plata, the Blue Demon tournament, essentially. And they made it out to be a real big deal. They had big, pomp and circumstance before and after, which is one of the things that's another thing with AEW is like, they'll do something, but it's like they don't, everyone knows they don't let it breathe. Like this one, they probably, after the match was over, they probably went 5-6 minutes of presenting trophies, the whole thing made the story after the match. The match was fantastic. One of the best match I saw this week, for sure the best match I saw this week. The key is, it was a total, basically technical match. Mystico did a little bit of flying, but it was mostly exchanging wrestling moves. It was more Hechicero style. And a lot of people figured that's what they would do because it's like big time singles matches work like a world title match. Basically, when it was booked like worked, modern moves, but a lot of old moves too, like the Romero specials and things like that. A lot of Zack Sabre stuff, a lot of Hechicero unique submissions, really cool submissions. Mystico, one of the stories is that Hechicero kept blocking the Mystica, although Mystico ended up getting it finally 27 minutes in. But he would, Mystico would do the octopus and different moves from different eras, and it was really a beautiful match. But the thing is like, okay, Arena Mexico, tourist crowd, they come to see masked guys fly. That's the deal. Will they be there and be hot for a 27.5 minute singles match, late in the show and everything? And the answer was they were like crazy, and I think the reason was is because of the pageantry before the match. They made it out to where before the match even started, you had the dignitaries out and all this, and it made it like this is a fucking special match. It's not just we're putting two guys in there that are good workers and they're going to go out and have a good match. They presented it big, and also Mystico is just so over there. That's the deal. He's a superstar there. And Hechicero, I mean, that guy, man, he is one fantastic wrestler. And the finish ended up being the La Mystica, but Hechicero was going for the ropes, and then Mystico trapped it with the legs, were basically doing like a Zack Sabre style submission on Hechicero, beating the submission guy at his own game. Which, look, this is the drawing card. We're gonna make the drawing card. You know what I mean? It's like we're not here to play. Like, this is our drawing card, so let's just beat him and beat him and beat him because he's over. It's like, this is the drawing card. This is the guy people come to see. And he beats our freaking best submission guy in a submission match because he's the number one guy in the company. And that's what it was. And, but I mean, what a great match. And there were 4 times in this scientific match where the crowd was just doing the stomping and the building was shaking. And I mean, it just worked. The other big thing that they did was Volador Jr. is turning Rudo. He turned on Templario. He turned again on Sunday. So and it's probably a good thing. They have their young baby faces, Mascara Dorada. Obviously in Atlantis Jr. being the key ones. So I think it's good. You get the older, long-time baby face. And he turns, Templario obviously, is probably the best wrestler in the company right now, and he's turned babyface or Technico. So get the long-time, older Technico. He's now older and bitter because these younger guys are, outshining him, better flyers than he is. So turn him Rudo. It makes perfect sense. And obviously Mystico, it opens up, Mascara Dorada feud with him, which would be great for Mascara Dorada. Always, Mystico and Volador, always great matches. They've been having great matches for 15 years whenever need be. So that's the other big thing that they did. But yeah, the Mystico and Hechicero match was, if you like technical wrestling, you like 70s world championship babyface match that gets over, this is a match to go out of your way to see.
All right, a couple of notes here. Wrestler of the Year.
What do you think?
I knew you were going to ask me.
Well, I mean, I know who I think.
I think the Wrestler of the Year is Cody, and I think the most outstanding is Will Ospreay.
Yeah, I think I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, as far as most outstanding, Will Ospreay, I think, by leaps and bounds. Wrestler of the Year is an interesting one. But I think, WWE is by far the dominant promotion. Cody is drawn great. He won the world title on the biggest show of the year. He's defended it all year. He's been pushed hard. He's been drawing great. Record drawing. So I would say, by that standard, he's number one. The other one is that Will Ospreay had a better year this year than last year. It's like he hit 400 for a mid-level team. The other guy was the superstar quarterback of the championship team. So you can argue either way. Obviously, in the ring, Will Ospreay had just such an incredible year. But they were the top 2 last year, and Will Ospreay won. But WWE just got stronger this year, and Cody won the world title this year. He was more significant this year than last year, even though he was very significant last year. So I could see that. The other ones, the other contenders to me would be Bryan Danielson, who had fantastic matches, won the world title, had his moment, and things like that. I don't think that he can win first, but he should be in the top 4 at least. And then Mystico, who we just talked about. CML's had a banner year. He's the top guy. And, for his age, he's out there working his ass off, having great matches. He should be in the running for sure, but not. I don't think anyone I don't think anyone can beat Cody and Will.
All right, and Colossal Colisetti in the Hall of Fame.
What do you think?
You're asking the wrong guy. I mean,
Well, I wrote the article. I mean, as far as like in the Hall of Fame, it's like when I was done with the article, it's like, man.
I mean, when I read it, I was like, okay, put him on the ballot.
Yeah, I mean that's how. I'll probably put him on the ballot. I mean, I would have never considered him for the Hall of Fame or for the ballot or anything. But when I wrote that article and saw all the stuff that he had done, it's like, man, it's like really impressive. I mean, it's like he drew more big crowds than most of the guys, almost anyone probably on the ballot now, other than Cody. And Roman is in. So Cody, even Punk, realistically, he drew more big crowds than Punk did. Not that I'm saying he's a better candidate than Punk, because he absolutely is not. But I'm just saying this guy drew some really big crowds for a long period of time in a lot of big matches in a lot of places. And but I mean, Hurricane Ramirez, like if you do a list of the top 100 wrestlers in the history of Mexico, Colisetti makes the list. But 100, that's a big number. If you do a top 20, he's absolutely not on the list. And I don't know what the cutoff is for Hall of Fame from Mexico. I mean, it's probably, I don't know how many people are in. It's probably 20 to 30. And if you look at it that way, Colisetti's not in that level. And I mean, Hurricane Ramirez was just eliminated from the ballot. And